Oh, yep, just us, which is, okay, I guess. Well, we wanna have more friends, don't we? We wanna have more friends with us. That's always the fun part of it, right? True. No, no, they'll come through. We'll figure it out. Yeah, yeah. I've started almost taking Thursdays and only doing plunge that night because, to be fair, we did cast games Sunday through Wednesday, and Fridays I always have UGL, but Thursdays, like, if I do a game and then I do plunge, it's like I go from starting work at like 9ish until just straight through until 11 p.m. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. If there are any producers out there, this is not from Style Esports, but this is from me. If there are any producers or if anyone who wants to produce out there, please give us a shout, because we are always looking for more producers, and we'd love to have a stream up every day if we could. Honestly, if you wanted it, Baymax, I can give it to you. Yeah, but yeah, for anyone in our community as well, though, yes, please let us know. Sag. Yeah, but it's not that easy because I think one of the things we've noticed just with all the games that have been streamed is some of these games are just LPL. They're just straight LPL. You always fight. You never really stop and think about what's the right play. You just kind of say, "This is a play. Let's make a play." So, yeah. Yes.
I
For
think I
sure.
think Cloud9 are gonna make it out of groups.
Hell
Can you
yeah.
hear me now? Quote me
We'll be on.
later, Cloud9. going to go 3-0 for the remaining games. They're going to fight their way out of groups, and they are going to make it to at least quarterfinals before getting knocked out by a Chinese or Korean team.
They're going to lose to Rogue.
Post on Twitter, you can become
Lose to
the Twitter
Rogue.
oracle.
Maybe I should do that. I don't know. I can't really do that because I already posted on Twitter saying that UOL were going to win Worlds. And
I see.
Oh no!
That
Billy
did not
Fast.
age well. That tweet did not age very well. So I think I lost some credibility. I might have to try again next year.
Yeah, they did make it, but I don't know. I think one of the main things is that I've just come to not really favor NA teams in general because it just feels like there's not a whole lot of identity, and it's the main reason why I like amateur and NA so much more is the fact that there's players with identity and stuff. Like you can actually you feel like you're talking to the players, you feel like they like are homegrown talent, whereas in amateur, there's even some teams in amateur that are importing players to say the least, but it's just a little bit disappointing because I want to have like someone. I know this guy, he went to a high school in my area. That was how it was when like Wild Turtle was one of the best players in NA. It was like I can relate to these people, and now it's like, oh, this guy's coming from Korea. Okay, it's literally any retirement home. Yeah. 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 Well, yeah, obviously because you predicted them to get out of groups, right? You gotta have that NA hopium there, but yes, more than any other North American team. I mean, yeah, the only other team that would be in that neighborhood would be TSM, I think. But TSM, once they got a bye and they got out once one other time, but like Cloud9 have definitely been the most successful team internationally. Even when TL was making MSI finals, that was something that CLG had done. Like Cloud9, they haven't done great at MSIs, but they've always done well at Worlds, and I think uh, it speaks more to just like their talent development in some way. But this year, like no one was expecting them to get out. They did a miracle run, but honestly, it was one of their weaker performances, in my opinion, compared to past years. And I think that just has a lot to do with just sort of trying to buy a mid laner to win with, and you can't always do that. Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and I think that it's happened before. It happened, I think, in 2019, I believe. Like, I know the year that Fnatic made the finals, it was a little bit awkward because it was like they made it there. They made it against someone from their own group, and it just didn't. It didn't really make sense to me in the end because, as much as I like Fnatic, it really wasn't a great year from them overall. Like they did well in groups, but that was it, and they had a really easy way to get there. So I think that in general, Worlds format needs to change. I think that they need to move to double elimination. They need to, as weird as it sounds, make Worlds longer. And if they need more talent for that, like there's a lot of casters out there that would be happy to cast a Worlds game, a single Worlds game for like a very to cast it from home or something, and might not be a bad idea. So, hit me up. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. I'm more memeing about that, but no, I think they could make worlds longer and it would be more balanced. And I honestly think that planes is the stupidest thing at this point. Like just make bigger groups or something, or I don't know, make it more interesting. Because at this point, it feels like it's always the same scenario where it's the same teams going through. It's always like very predictable worlds in some ways, even if there's unpredictable players in it. The storylines still end up being the same. That's Bedge. That's so Bedge, man. Like the script is only for LCS, right? Like, well, it's supposed to only be. Hard to say. Yeah, we can think about that all we want, but that's not a problem. Yeah, I think in some ways they need to do something about MSI. I think that MSI is really the weak point right now in terms of the league season, where it's like teams don't want to go to MSI half the time. And that's sort of the theme that we heard from a lot of the teams, that yeah, we get to go to MSI. If you win, so what? RNG won MSI. They barely made it to Worlds, but it was sort of like, who cares, right? Like, who cares about MSI at the end of the day? Because it doesn't hold any ground. I feel like Worlds is really where you get to see the best of each region and all of that. So I don't know. Yeah, and I'm surprised to even see that RNG made it. And there are teams that will make it all the way through. You can have a perfect season the way that SKT has almost done before, and like MSI is just underwhelming in my opinion. And I think that they need to change that format as well if they want to sort of have any hope for making Worlds more entertaining. Because in some ways, Worlds isn't as entertaining if you're just kind of watching the same thing every year. Yeah, I changed the title. Easiest to have the most impact is so. I mean, there's the role that has the most impact, which is jungle, and there's the role that is easiest in my opinion, which is ADC. I think the role though that is the easiest to have an impact is on support. As a support player, you have so many options in terms of how you play the game, and I think that like being a support main myself and being sort of a jungle secondary and playing top, like I play all the roles, right? I just feel like when I'm playing support, it's easy for me to have an impact because I can just do the stupidest thing and it works most of the time because supports have that sort of surprise factor when they roam, or they have that surprise factor when you flash engage, as opposed to a jungler where you're expecting that. You're expecting to get surprised, whereas with a support, you're not expecting to be surprised as much. It's a weird thing. Yeah. I think in the end, though, supports are generally the ones who are playing playmaking champions. Even on the likes of an Enchantress, you can make plays. Lulu, you can have your clutch flash shield or something. I think that because AD carry is a powerful role, and I think it's still a really strong role right now. We've seen how strong Misfortune is regardless. We see the strength of Aphelios. We've had a bunch of AD carries be those 200 years memes for a while now, and we don't really see that in other roles as much, I think. Because they're so strong, I think that supports have the most important role in terms of carrying, especially in higher elos, because that's when if you have your crazy jungle pop off performance, if it's on Xin Zhao, it doesn't matter because you fall off you fall off once you get to mid game. I think that since ADC is so pivotal, support ends up being the most important role throughout the game, and it's also the easiest. I think so. I'd rather have an autofilled AD carry. As weird as it sounds, I think that there are too many people who think support is just brain dead and easy, and they will play champions like Soraka and they will sit back in lane and they won't do anything. Or they'll play Nautilus and go for every single hook that you go for. I think that support players need to sort of know lane matchups a little bit more than like if you're an ADC, it's just like, okay, this champion's strong. I'm gonna farm. I'm gonna farm. You know what? We're not gonna fight, we're gonna farm. And if we can fight, we'll fight. But if not, we farm. Like ADC is it is one of the strongest roles, but I think it's one of the easiest roles to play. where it's some of it comes down to team fight positioning, but at the end of the day, in solo queue, especially where most of our league is, if you farm well and you can get to a point in late game where you auto attack someone 4 times and you do half their health, you did your job. Whereas as a support player, it's like, you can land all the clutch tornadoes and stuff, but if you're not hitting the tornado on the right target or you're not exhausting the right target, there's a lot of things to keep in mind, I feel like, as support that makes it a little bit more difficult, a lot more difficult actually, for autofill players to play it. Yeah. And I think the main thing is, while I think that support is still a stronger role, in solo queue, it just sucks to play support. Like, if you're not playing support and diamond and above, as you're saying, like, it actually sucks to play support. And it's the same reason why I feel like it sucks to play jungle. It's because on jungle, you have to coin flip the game off of teammates. And yes, there's the mentality, oh no, you don't need to depend on your teammates, just focus on yourself and help your team win, blah blah blah. Like, come on. Everyone knows that if you're playing a role that can't solo carry, super hard. If you're not playing those champions like Samira or Aphelios or something in solo queue, it does end up being innately harder to just carry every single game. Because you can try and set up your AD carry to do that, but if your AD carry is an awful player, it doesn't matter how many 2-man Lux bindings you get. It doesn't matter how much you do on Leona. It doesn't matter if you're locking down their AD carry for 7 seconds. If your AD carry is farming while you're going in for an engage because your jungler is there and you die. I'm arguing for everything at this point because I'm bad at solo queue. Okay, that's what I am. I'm bad at solo queue. That's why. Yes, we're go. Is this therapy now? Um, for some reason, me and Platinum 4 just got back there. Feeling good. Won a whole bunch of games to get up to 99 LP Plat 4. Yes, Ryan did me like that. What ends up happening is you get some of those unfortunate games where maybe you get an autofilled player. You look at them in their rank and you're like, why am I playing with the Plat 1 player? Or more so, why is the Plat 1 player playing with me? And you see them do the worst on your team. Like, okay, it's a one-off. It's a one-off. And then you queue up again and you get the same exact people. That's my favorite part about ranked. And that's all I'll say about it. Yeah. And there's some faces you don't want to see again. It's where you're hopping into champ select and you're like, this is the jungler that went 1-13 on Warwick last game. I wonder how this is gonna go. It was a couple days ago, but Then it's been if you look at my op.gg, you'll understand a little bit more. You see the win streak, a 9-game win streak, and then 10-game loss streak, something like that. So, anyways, I digress. Baymax, how was your? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Buddha would be awful at coaching League of Legends. I'm just saying that right now. I think he'd be a. I thought. At the end of the game, it's a video game. In the grand scheme of life, well, what is League of Legends? What did Buddha think about League of Legends? What did he say? Well, what sort of ethics are brought into it? Oh, regardless, I'm just memeing you at this point, but yeah, that's my solo queue stories. How's collegiate been? How's collegiate been for the Drury Panthers? Come on, come on. We had a therapy session, and now it's my turn to put on the therapist hat here. Do I have a hat? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually really good advice in a lot of ways, because one of the main things that at least that I keep in mind whenever I'm looking at team environments is that you have to the communication is, of course, the first aspect of everything. You need to make sure that you have that clear communication with your teammates, but in the same vein, it's also about accepting fault in some ways, and especially from what sort of the league community has grown into, a lot of times people will either take too much fault or they won't take any fault. I think that there are times where you can look at situations and say, yes, I made this mistake, but I also needed you to do this, as opposed to saying, no, you know what, this was all my fault. Or like, what are you doing, AD carry? Why are you moving up so far? Like, even though as the support or something, you're the one who died. So I think being able to take responsibility, but also take responsibility properly, if that makes sense, is a really important part of team environments. I'm more so the support being, I made a mistake, and then I look at my AD carry summoner spells and they have heal up, and I'm like, no, I went too far. Why didn't you heal me? I went too far. I shouldn't have burned ignite. I should have used my exhaust there. Why didn't you heal me? You know, that sort of thing. So, no. As a support main, and especially in solo queue, sometimes you just have to embrace the monkey and just be like, you know what, my AD carry is going to let me die. If he gets a kill, then it's good. Yeah. Yeah, you can't always do that for your AD carry, unfortunately. It's not that easy. Sometimes as a support, I'll take most of the kills because I'm like, you know what? I'm playing Leona. I can build, well, before I used to be like, I can build Trinity Force this game. I can do a little bit of damage. Usually didn't end up. Yeah. And then you play into a Thresh and you're like, oh, this champion sucks, man. So, it's a little bit of the coin flip situation there, but yeah. I mean, my Leona go-to pick was always Jenna for the longest time because you like Zenith Blade goes in, you just toss out a tornado. Um, another like kind of old counter was Nami into Thresh because when he's using his hook, he's standing still, and then what did I pick into Blitzcrank all the time? I mean, my new favorite thing to pick into Blitzcrank is Vex because you just go in there with your fear, he pulls you, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, free fear going off." But there is a couple of I can't remember all of them. I haven't played against the Blitzcrank in forever either. But yeah, there's like that. If tank support is picked, here's an Enchantress you can play. So regardless. Uh, y- y- Top lane can be. I've played a little bit more top lane recently, and I enjoy it. I think it's a super chill lane because most of the time neither jungle shows up. She's getting buffed again. She's getting buffed. Yeah, you want to talk Gore Drinker? Let's talk about Gore Drinker. Why is it getting buffed? They literally nerfed it for one patch, and they're like you know what? We can't have Blabber not be able to play Olaf for one patch. Let's buff Gore Drinker. Why is Gore Drinker getting buffed, and why does Riot hate 99% of the League community? Yeah. I think for me, like the biggest boon of it was just the fact that I was playing top lane just because it's the at this point it's like if I'm to playing like try harding, I'm like okay, yeah, I'll play jungle. If I'm just trying to practice, yeah, I'll play support. But if I'm just like playing ranked and I'm like I just want to have some fun. I want to carry a game. I'll play top lane because I love a lot of top lane champions. I love playing Fiora, love playing Gwen, love playing Kennen, and you can't. Kennen's a great champion. Just for the record, I had a in the caster showdown, Kangus's caster showdown. I had an excellent Kennen performance. I just want that to be known. When it was, I hadn't played top lane in like 3 weeks or something, and they're like, "Yeah, you're playing top lane." I'm like, excuse me, but it worked out. It was a fun game. I had a lot of fun doing that. But regardless, I digress. I think that top lane you have more ability to, as I said, in solo queue, like straight up the best roles to play in plat. I think mid and top because you can play solo lanes. You can just lane diff your opponent. And if you know how to roam really well as a mid or top laner, or if you can just lane dominate, then you can you can get elo most of the time. Yeah. I've heard good things about Darius. Um, yeah, I will ban him sometimes. You get like what 40 AD at level 1, right? When you get your fully stacked pass. It's kind of stupid. Yeah. Yeah, it's really like the difference between 4 and 5 stacks. I think that's something that even I fall into the trap of. Um, like I'll play Fiora or something, and you're trying to dance around the Darius or whatever, and Darius is just like "Rah," hitting you a bunch of times, and all of a sudden, like you're sitting at that 4 stacks, and you're like, okay, time to run away. Then he gets that 5 stacks, and you're at like 400 health, and you're like, okay, that's gonna happen. Yeah, I'm about to bleed. He needs one more auto. He gets that one last auto attack, and so it can be difficult. A decent amount. Yeah. 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 I think another major thing is just the thinking about how to word this. The idea that in top lane specifically, you just need to know a lot of matchups. I think that's the biggest thing because mid lane there's usually going to be like maybe 10 to 15 champions that are played, but in top lane, people will play Draven top and they're like, shit, what do I do? Like, yeah, and you go up against like Draven top lane and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Or at least if you play him in solo queue, you play a more selfish build where you're going like Titanic Hydra first item. You're just looking for as much damage as possible. Whereas in in competitive, sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going lock it because my team needs this. So I think, yeah, you just need to be the best player in the world. That's what you need to do. You need to be the best player in the world. But anyways, oh yeah, yeah. I think it's easier to get waves to bounce in mid lane as opposed to top lane, where people will just freeze for eternity, and you're just like, I don't know how to play the Aatrox versus a Felios matchup top lane. For some reason, I'm just taking way too much damage, and it's difficult to see. Oh, I got a question. Okay. I'm throwing out an example. Style esports. Where Adam? When is my team going to get streamed? It's I feed and win. So, how to get your team streamed is honestly the easiest tip. Play games Sunday through Wednesday and book your games early and book them like 8 p.m. This is the tip of the trade. This is the tip of the trade for everyone who's looking to get their game stream Sunday to Wednesday, somewhere around the 8 p.m. mark. Because if your game's too late, no, it's too late. I have a bedtime. If it's like 6 p.m., I'm still at work. 8 p.m. That's your sweet time. You book it early on. You book it like a couple weeks in advance, and you're good to go. The other way to do it is make a deep run in playoffs, and you'll get your game streamed. Yeah. A fun thing about yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's a good segue into what I was going to bring up here is we have a week and a half left in the regular season for Style here. A week and a half left until we have another playoffs. And it feels like, we just went through that playoff push a month and a half ago. It's weird to me to kind of think about it that way. Yeah, the seasons are short. We keep them short and we keep them moving. But yeah, it's short season, long playoffs. That's a good idea. But yeah, it's weird to think that because the biggest thing is when we get to playoffs, it is harder for us to stream every game because there are less teams, and a lot of the times the teams play on the same days. Now, the biggest issue with that is that we try and stream as many finals, semifinals, lower bracket finals, as many playoff games as possible. But if there's two games in one night, we can't do it. We can only do one at a time. And I don't remember, at least as long as I've been producing, I don't remember ever doing a doubleheader because we've just never had the time constraints. Like if you have a best of 3 or something, and you're saying, oh, this one starts at 8, this one starts at 10, we'll get both of them. It's not gonna happen. So that's sort of the pains of being. I think I think the main thing about us not being able to do 2 games is how the timing windows work out. One thing I have learned is for a best of 3, you have to expect it to go to 3 games, and you have to expect every game to be 45 minutes. It is not going to happen that way. I've seen 3-game series go in 2 hours because they're 20, done, done, done. Just stomps both ways. I've also seen best of 3s where it's 2 games and it's gone 2.5 hours because they were just long, drawn out games. So yeah, or pauses. So realistically, the only way that we could ever do a doubleheader is if we had like 3.5 hours between games. And with how teams schedule, and this is I'd say an accurate generalization because I look at all the streamed games schedule. A fun fact: y'all, Carl and I, we pick the games. Like I pick the games that I can cast, basically. But in that vein, no one's going to start their game at 6:30 p.m. Eastern because there's people who live in Central Time, which is 5:30. That's a little early. People who live in Mountain Time, that's 4:30. So streaming from the East Coast, at least, is a little bit wonky, especially since we have casters who are West Coast. If our producer was on West Coast and we had, an East Coast squad and then a West Coast squad that would work it, honestly, it would work out where we could have 2 games streamed, but there's also not enough late games, so we're usually starting our stream 8 p.m. and we just expect to run one series because that's all we can fit in. That's the short answer. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's the main reason is not having people. That would effectively mean that if we had 2 producers slash casters and 2 auxiliary casters there, it's 4 people. Most nights we can manage 2 or 3, usually not 4. It would open up more opportunities. It would be nice. The other thing is just viewership. If we were to split viewers like that, there are some people who come for style games just because they're style games, but I dare say that a lot of the reason I'm like, I mean, I can be pretty transparent about this. A lot of the reason why we pick some of the games that are streamed is because those teams have a little bit of a following. And I try and pick teams that are new because they're fun to see come up. But a lot of the time, if we just need a default to a game, and there's 2 teams where they have decent followings, I'll just pick the bigger one because we get more viewers. And I think that's what ends up happening. Viewership is difficult to put a metric to, and especially since a lot of the time teams don't stream their own games because they can't. I try and spread the love, but realistically, if it's 5 or a matchup of Rando Joes versus Rando Joes versus 2 pretty big esports teams, what will get us more viewers? That's me being brutally transparent. Most of the time, I don't even put that much thought into it, but it would be viewership that would be one major thing. Yep. Yeah, schedule your games early because I actually like I think my hierarchy is if you put your game there first, I don't go up. I don't say, "Okay, this is the most recent scheduled game. I'm going to stream that one." No. I go up the list. I say, "Who is the first person to book a stream for, we'll use the example, November 2nd. What is a game that I'm likely to stream on November 2nd here?" I'm giving away the method to the madness. Looking through here, let's scroll up. A Glacial Void, Madison Esports, Cottage Cheese. They scheduled for 1st of November. That's the game that's getting streamed. You know why? Because they put it on. They're the ones scheduled there for the 1st of November. There's another one, Snuggle Wuggle and Boomers Unite, that they scheduled their game 3 days later. Like, or 4 days later, they put it in the schedule. So I will give priority to people who schedule early. 2nd of November, if you want to get streamed, schedule a game on the 2nd of November. That's how you do it. There's the trick. Yeah, do it quick because everyone knows. But at the same time, my team also needs to get games in next week. So Baymax might be your host. We've come full circle. Yeah. Yeah. Although, yeah, you can DM me. I'm pretty nice most of the time. I don't mind it. Do we know that for a fact? Should we get Carl on here next week and interview him? We could. Yeah. I know he's been pretty busy recently, so shout out to our boy. He's done great work for us. Done great work with us. Nice. Yeah. I'm the new wave. Yeah, I'm the new wave of people. I'm the second coming of Style Esports, I guess. But honestly, one thing I want to point out though, especially this season compared to even 2 seasons ago when I started. So I put the announcements out when we're streaming, and I like to have some fun, just making them making them interesting. I made some jokes about Twitch and the cheeseheads and stuff. Um, Last season, I remember I would click at everyone and it would say 800 plus people. And now I click at everyone and it's 1100 plus people. So we've got a huge community here, and I'm super happy about that. Yeah. Did we announce it in streaming? Oops. Yes. Oh, 100%. Yeah. So yeah. Also, I might just put this into a clip, and this is a total self plug, but um, Team No Good Luck, we are currently ranked 35th. We're looking for opponents within our team range. Oh, we are smack dab in the middle. There are 69 teams. Nice in style. We are smack dab in the middle. We are exactly the midpoint right now. But yeah, we need games. We need one more series at least before the end of the season. Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday next week, we are open for games. I'm clipping this and sending this out to everyone. Yeah, schedule a game with us. I may or may not be playing my main role. Yes, that's all I'll say. Anyways, no, I'm definitely playing jungle for at least one of the games. So that's my other role. That's what I played last season. That's what everyone knows me for. I hope. Man, I mean, if people don't know me at this point, come on, man. I blow up your everyone notifications straight up. Like, you can put that angry, oh, you pinged me? Like, yes, I pinged you. Style Esports pinged you. It was me. Get mad at me. That sort of stuff. Come to stream. Tell me how much you hated that I pinged you. And then watch the rest of the stream. I guess it's now just a Baymax discussion. Good night, everyone. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, let me know if you want to get streamed. And if you want Baymax to learn to be a host, spam the crap out of his DMs as well. Blow them up. make sure that he has to mute all his pings on Discord. Just slide into his DMs. That's what he's asking for. Sag. This is too depressing. Okay. For joining us, everyone. Yeah, we have a game on Sunday. I'm just gonna read through so that people come. Sunday, what streamed? Let me find out. Sunday, Team Takeover versus Lionel Esports 2 at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hosted by me. Colorcaster is me. Play-by-play is Shinkari. And on Monday, Glacial Void versus Madison Esports Cottage Cheese, 8 p.m. Still actually looking for a caster for that. What do you mean? I don't mind it. I've done it both ways. I think in a lot of times when I am hosting, I can and I'm not casting, I can give my casters more information if necessary. But there are definitely other times where I'm hosting and I'm like, I'm gonna go get something to eat. And then I go get something to eat and I come back like 5 minutes later and there's a pause and I'm like, well, this is gonna mess everything up because pauses ruin spectator client. But I honestly like cast. I don't mind doing casting and hosting at the same time. It ends up being a little bit more economical for the league as well. So if that's the way it happens, it happens, and I've gotten so used to it at this point that I do it for other leagues too. Yeah, I think I think the one caveat, and I guess uh, this is how we can round off our discussion for tonight. It's the fact that when I am hosting, I just in general with a lot of leagues, your producer is your observer. And once you get higher up in honestly, I'll just say it as pay grades or in quality of streams, you have a dedicated observer, you have a producer. What happens is the observer is able to watch the game 15 seconds ahead and basically say, okay, producer, watch this Ash arrow because it's going to hit. Let's do it. They have spoilers and they give it to the producer, and we're able to watch the producer's feed, which is 15 seconds after. That is the tip on how you're able to get those sort of predictive sort of plays in terms of replay ops and that stuff because someone is ahead. So that is the trick of the trade in some ways. As if you're just doing a host, realistically, you would have to do directed camera anyways because a lot of times we just all sync up in our spectate as opposed to someone watching my spectate client. And a lot of times, if I am casting or hosting and casting, I prefer to do color because I can do a little bit more and I can kind of lead in my own points. I can say, "Yeah, look at the gold lead. Wow, look, the producer put it up there so quickly. I wonder how he did that." But that I think that yeah, I think that's basically the only thing that would be different. But I don't mind doing just hosting, or if I'm hosting and casting, just whatever works, whatever I can do to help out. You know. Okay. Look at him next week. Yeah. Let's let's switch it up. You know what's missing? Axe is missing. I miss Axe. I think they're almost wrapping up this season. Yeah, they're almost done this season so soon. But regardless, thanks for joining us, everyone. Yes. Peace, peace.